This morning marks the 7th day since the Surfside condo collapse, and dozens of families are clinging to hope and waiting for answers about missing loved ones. City officials now say that 12 people are confirmed dead and 149 are still unaccounted for. President Biden and the First Lady are set to visit Surfside on Thursday. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton joins us now from Surfside, Florida. Antonia, good morning. So we know that many of these rescue workers at this site are highly experienced. What are they saying about the challenges they're facing in sifting through the rubble here? What is it like at this specific site? And are they still hopeful they can find survivors?
Good morning, Savannah. Look, it is an incredibly challenging and agonizing process here as we stretch toward this 7th day. And they're averaging recently finding about 1 body a day, as you mentioned, bringing the death toll to 12. But the number of unaccounted for stands still at 149, which has been really overwhelming for both officials, workers, and community members here to process. And to put this work in context, yesterday I got to get up closer to the rubble site than I have in past days. And I also got to speak to someone who has worked at the site every single day. And what you see and what you hear is that there has been a pancaking effect with this building, which means that unlike with other disasters, there aren't these open crevices where workers can easily move through and where bodies or survivors would be able to survive. And that's part of why people think they haven't found survivors now for several days, because the building has essentially each floor collapsed one after another, flat on top of each other. And, there's growing tension here between the desire for optimism, the hope that a miracle is going to happen and another survivor is going to be found, and community members who are saying to these workers and to politicians, please be honest with us. If the reality is that our loved ones are very likely, dead, or that we're only going to receive body parts of our loved ones, we want to start moving forward with the grieving process. We want closure. And this is just, so painful to watch play out here, frankly, on the ground. And it'll be interesting to see when President Biden arrives tomorrow how that maybe shifts the tone, because he talks so openly about his grief. He is often empathetic when he sits down with families that have lost loved ones. It'll be interesting to see if his presence here shifts some of the tone more toward that grieving process, since so much has been focused on rescue recently, Savannah.
Oh, it's just so heartbreaking to think about what those families are going through and how many questions that they have. Of course, the big question here is, how is it possible that this happened? The Miami Herald is actually reporting that a pool contractor took photos of structural damage 2 days before the collapse that he seemed to think was alarming. What did he see? What did he tell the Herald?
That's right. And that Miami Herald reporting has intensified the conversation, the scrutiny here, as family members look toward accountability. How did this happen? And many of them are seeking to hold the leadership of that South Tower, the condo association, responsible for what they may or may not have known about the condition of the building in the months and in the hours ahead of this, because those photos were taken about 36 hours before this collapse happened. And what they show is extensive standing water, corrosion, and it's in an area that's around the pool deck. And I brought this reporting and these photos to an expert engineer named Troy Morgan, who's at Exponent, and asked him to kind of break down for me the seriousness of what's seen in the Miami Herald's reporting. And he basically said that it's an interesting clue about damage that we may find out is within other parts of the building, but it's not yet the smoking gun that fully explains why this building came down. It's going to be months before we understand fully what was going on in this South Tower, Savannah.
And Antonia, we also heard from the mayor of Surfside saying that they've received $1.9 million through this website, supportsurfside.org. How are county officials working to support these families? What's that money for? What kind of support are they receiving?
That's been so heartening to see here in Surfside. There is a complete community mobilization, not just in Surfside, in greater Miami, and actually from really around the country. People are giving support to family members and to workers in every way that you can imagine. I mean, food, free food, constantly for everyone who is here grieving or here working around the clock. There are also mental health services, actually quite close to where I am right now. They're going to be doing mental health counseling for veterans connected to this crisis, and there are constant supplies of clothing and religious counseling for people who need everything from literal financial support to just personal day-to-day support right now, Savannah.
Absolutely. We had somebody on our show yesterday who said, if you pray, now's the time to pray. Antonia, thank you so much.